How one act of kindness turned my farm into chaos. What's up, guys? And hello, everyone. Welcome to another story time. Today, I want to share a deeply personal and emotional series of stories that taught me the importance of setting boundaries. Even when it's hard, trust me, you want to stick around to the end because what happened would leave you speechless. This story is in three parts and it's a tale of entitlement. So let me take you back to a few years ago. I had just gotten married and moved into a new apartment building. Life was good, new beginnings, new dreams. One thing about me is I love gardening. I always had green fingers, and wherever I live, I try to create a small farm or garden for myself. It's my happy place. So, in this new home, I started a tomato farm right behind the building. It was beautiful, lush green plants with bright red tomatoes hanging like jewels. It wasn't just a farm, it was therapy for me. Every day after work or on weekends, I'll go outside to tend to my plants. It brought me so much joy. The more time I spent on the farm, the more evident my hard work was. My husband knew if he couldn't find me in the house, he would come by my little garden and chat with me while I walk. He will even bring water for my plants and also help me remove weeds. I'm always watching boring plant videos on YouTube and he sends me some to watch as well. Now, my neighbors who lived in the lower apartment were an older couple with four children. Friendly couple who had been married for over 15 years. Their kids were always curious about my little farm and they always watched me as I walked. Once they noticed that I'm at my garden, they come and surround me, asking me various questions like, did I grow up in the village? Am I a vegetarian? One of them even told me their mother said I must have farmed as a child. The comments were all amusing to me, so I just took them in a stride. They also listened when I lectured them about caring for plants. They would listen aptly, and I thought it was sweet. I thought I was growing young farmers, so whenever I harvested tomatoes, I'll give them a bucketful as a gesture of goodwill. Their parents were grateful and even told me how happy they were about my efforts and about encouraging them to love nature. So, as the days went by, we became more familiar with each other, and in the spirit of kindness, I told them they could harvest tomatoes whenever they needed. It was only I and my husband. We could not eat all the vegetables in the farm. So I invited them to join me. I guess this was a big mistake. At first, everything seemed fine until it got to a point where I started to notice something different. The children started coming into the farm without permission and unsupervised. They didn't just pick tomatoes, they uprooted entire plants from the soil. They wouldn't even wait for the tomatoes to ripen before plucking them up the vines. My once beautiful farm was now scattered and unkempt. My plants were damaged beyond repair, and soon enough, there were no tomatoes left for me to use for my own cooking. Even the ridges of corn I made were no longer available and no longer visible. My little farm looked like a tornado passed through. It was just a pile of dirt. I was seeing my hard work destroyed just like that hurt me deeply. My husband noticed how upset I was and suggested that I confronted the parents or at least warn the children to stop. But there's one thing about me. I hate confrontation. I don't know if anyone feels this way, but the thought of even having an argument or demanding something, even when I'm right, makes me anxious. I'd rather avoid conflict entirely than risk losing my peace of mind. So instead of confronting them and creating bad blood, I came up with a plan. I called a carpenter from across the street and asked him to build a large flower bed for me for our balcony upstairs. It was perfect. Not only did it keep my farm out of reach from my neighbor's children, but it also saved me from walking downstairs every day in the hot sun while heavily pregnant. I didn't have to wear those ugly boots and bend down to hold the soil. Now it wasn't so stressful, it felt like a fresh start. Nevertheless, even though I was not happy with what they did to the farm, I handed them over the old farm and I made new ridges. I bought new flower pots and even taught them how to care properly for the new seedlings I planted for them before leaving it in their hands. I reminded them to water the plants and remove the weeds constantly. I told them the kind of garbage to use as compost for the plants, and most importantly, I told them to make sure the vegetables were fully ripe before harvesting. Meanwhile, my new balcony garden flourished. Tomatoes started growing again, big juicy ones, and soon enough I had peppers, spinach, and lettuce too. But here's where things get interesting. My neighbor's kids tried their best with the old farm but couldn't get it to thrive like mine had done before. Their plants looked sickly and barely produced anything at all. When I asked them to water the plants, they told me, "Oh, it will soon rain, so there's no need." Or they will say, "Oh, I'll get to it later." Soon enough, their parents had resorted to buying vegetables from the market again, while my balcony garden thrived in abundance. I tried to ignore the wretched way the farm was looking again. I wanted to overlook the weeds growing longer than the real plants in their farm, so I made sure I didn't go there to inspect because my heart could not take the present situation of things. Since I had my farm, I focused on that. One evening, there was a knock on my door, a soft knock that made me curious but uneasy at the same time. When I opened it, there stood their eldest son holding an empty bucket. Before he talked, I knew what he was going to say. I knew why he was here. He looked at me sheepishly and said something that left me speechless. My mother said, "You should give us some tomatoes from your farm. We want to make stew." What? I froze for a moment. Not because I didn't know what to say, because I didn't believe what I just heard. After everything had happened, the damage to my old farm, the audacity of this request caught me completely off guard. But remember what I told you earlier, confrontation isn't my strong suit. So instead of reacting emotionally or refusing outright, I simply smiled and went into my kitchen to fetch a few for him. You know, that night as I sat in my bed reflecting on what had happened, part of me felt angry at the entitlement after all they had done, but another part of me felt pity, for the fact remains that they refused to nurture the garden after all I had taught them. They were not able to treat my farm with care or respect, yet they were here asking for help again. I relayed what happened to my husband and he was genuinely upset. He said I could have refused, I shouldn't have given them, tell them you don't have anyone that is ripe, tell them that it's finished, tell them that they should take from their farm. If you're not firm with them, they would walk over you. You need to take a stand, he said. The incident taught me something profound. Kindness is important, but so are boundaries. You can be generous with letting people take advantage of you or disrespect your efforts. In life, we often face situations where we are tested, where people push us beyond their limit, but how we respond matters more than anything else. For me, setting boundaries doesn't mean being rude or confrontational. It means protecting your peace while staying true to yourself. And when they came next week saying they needed vegetables for stew, so what did I just do? Did I give them? Did they learn their lesson? Well, let's just say this wasn't the last time they tested my patience, but that's a story for another day. What will you have done in this situation? Do you believe in the spirit of entitlement? Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this story or found it relatable in any way, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more thought-provoking stories like this one. Let's talk in the comments. Have you ever struggled with boundaries? How did you handle it? Let's share and learn together. The next video is part 2. So, let go.